Hi there everyone, welcome to Beauty Talk. My name is Linda, and if you didn't know already, I am passionate about skincare, makeup and beauty. So if you like those topics, you're in the right channel. And today's video is about how to control your greasy or oily scalp. I'm going to be sharing with you all of my tips about how I control all the oils and greasiness of my hair, how I maintain it nice and clean, and how I prevent it from getting out of control. So if you're interested in those topics, please keep on watching. But before, I want to ask you to please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That's extremely important for me. That's what's going to help the YouTube algorithm so that my videos can be seen by more people. And also don't forget to give me a like so that I know you like this type of content. It's extremely important. It sounds annoying. A lot of YouTubers say it, but it is extremely important for us content creators. And also don't forget to follow me on my Instagram. I'll leave it here and also in the information box. There I also share a lot of other beauty tips, but also you may see some of my personal life if you are interested in seeing that. So now let's get into the video. My hair is rather weird today. It's a little bit oily. It's a bit dirty, just as the topic of today. So I want to start off first talking about myself, my hair type. So my hair type is actually kind of straight. My hair is more on the straight side, and I have thin hair, but I have a lot of hair, but it's still like very thin strands. So in addition to that, I have oily scalp. So it is annoying for me because, you know, essentially my hair gets oily very often and it feels flat and shapeless, and it's just really annoying. Also, what I'm going to be talking about in this video are mainly things that are based on my personal experience that have helped me to control my oily scalp, and also some things that I have learned through some experts, through even some specialists in hair, which are trichologists. So I'm going to be talking about those things and, you know, the things that actually work for me. When I was doing some research into this subject, it was funny because when I would try to put how to control oily scalp, it came out a lot of questions like how to get rid of an oily scalp. And I find this interesting because I honestly don't think you can get rid of an oily scalp. You can't get rid of your oils. I think you can only control them. So I don't know about you, but this is how I feel about the subject, because I think oils are still important for us, and I'll tell you why. So before I discuss like what do I do to control my oily scalp, I think it's important to understand what is sebum, which is the substance that makes our hair greasy, and oil is basically the oils that we produce, right? So sebum is essentially produced by our sebaceous glands. We all have this, we all produce it. And it is something that helps our skin actually stay nice and moisturized, soft, and it kind of like waterproofs our skin and protects us from the external factors. So it's important that we actually have oil in our skin. However, sometimes our sebaceous glands can be overly active and produce way more oil than, you know, we can handle, and then it can become a problem because it can lead to not only the discomfort that it brings from having a really oily scalp, but also it can lead to other problems such as dandruff or seborrheic dermatitis, these kind of conditions, which I won't be getting very in depth. I also want to mention that whatever products that I talk about in the video, I will not be talking in depth as giving a review to the product, but mainly more to mention them for the sake of mentioning the things that I do to help me control my oily scalp. So as I was saying, sebum is necessary, but sometimes our sebaceous glands can be overly active and produce way more oil than we need. So this can be due to several things. So first of all, it can be genetic. In my case, my father, I think, has more of an oily skin. So also I have oily skin, and also my scalp skin is oily. So that is something it's because of genetic predisposition. However, there are things like, for instance, when we're growing up, when we're hitting puberty, all this hormone imbalances or changes can make our sebaceous glands more active, therefore producing more oil. So that's why you see teenagers where they're really oily and they start having issues also with acne and so on. But also, because of hormones or hormonal imbalance, that could lead to an excessive oil production in the skin or in the scalp. So that's something that I think is really, really important to bear in mind. So if you have never been a person with an oily scalp, or your oils have been, not something that has, or if you are a person that you never noticed like having too much oiliness on your hair, and then suddenly you do, I would think that you should probably check if you have any kind of underlying issue, most likely with your hormones, because that could be causing you to produce way more oils than you normally would. But also important to understand that environmental factors could also lead for our scalp to produce more oil. So things like pollution, things like humidity, things like, overly heating our hair. Like for me, for instance, if it's rained a little bit outside, something about it that immediately makes my hair just greasy. I don't know if it happens to you. Let me know if it happens to you too. So, like I said, things in the atmosphere could actually also contribute to oily production. Also, things like stress. I mean, usually when we're stressed, even our palms get sweaty and things like that. So, of course, it's only natural that our scalp would also get oily. But also there's something else, another reason why you could be experiencing excessive oil on your scalp, and that is perhaps because you are excessively washing your hair, or better yet, let me explain. You are using a shampoo that has harsh surfactants and you are washing it very frequently. So what is happening is that you're actually stripping your scalp of its natural oils, So the scalp or the skin, this happens also with our skin, is going to produce more oils in order to compensate and protect itself from what's happening. However, on the opposite side of this spectrum could be that you are washing your hair with a shampoo that does not have enough surfactants. Therefore, you're not washing your hair, you're not cleansing your scalp properly. So, it's kind of like the oil is just building up there. I hope that makes sense. The other thing that I found while researching this subject I thought was interesting was that in general, people with really thin and straight hair tend to have more oily scalp. This is because the hair is straight, which allows the oils to kind of travel down easier. Meanwhile, people with curly hair don't have so much oil, because the curl kind of like acts like an obstacle for the oils to travel down to the strands. So that's why they in general don't have that much of an oily scalp. And the other thing is that people that have really thick and coarse hair, they don't have or they do have oils, but their hair doesn't get that greasy because they have really thick and dense hair that kind of like absorbs those oils. So they don't really feel that oiliness that otherwise people like myself that have a lot of hair, but it's really thin. So I do feel a lot of oiliness in my hair. So this is just a generality, because I have also known people that have curly hair that have very oily scalp. I think, like I said, it could also have to do just because they have maybe very little. So now that we understand a little bit more about oil production or sebum production in our scalp, I thought we'd talk about how often should we be cleansing or washing our hair. So now I wanted to talk about how often should we be cleansing our scalp. And this is a bit of a complex subject, and it kind of depends a lot on several things. So, for instance, I have seen that several dermatologists or hair specialists, namely trichologists, they often recommend people to cleanse their scalp like every day. And this is from the perspective of hygiene. So they say that people should be cleansing their scalp every day, and if you have more of a drier scalp, you should do it every other day, or depending on how, depending on how you feel about that. And then you have people who say that no, you shouldn't be washing your hair so often because that is, water is damaging to the hair. And then people that, dye their hair, they are probably not going to be wanting to wash their hair so often because, of course, when you wash your hair, it kind of like fades the color that you have tinted your hair. So I can understand that. So I still think that there's some issues to address there because yes, I can understand that we need to cleanse our scalp from a hygiene perspective. So this part, that is important because that buildup can actually, the buildup of the sweat and dirt and pollutants and dead cells and all that can actually lead to issues with our scalp. However, I also understand that there are things like water, like chemicals in water and minerals that can actually be damaging not only to the scalp but to the hair strands. So it kind of makes me think that honestly it really depends on your personal needs. If you feel the need to wash your hair every day because you have a very oily scalp, or you are a person that you train a lot every day and you're really sweaty and then you need to wash your hair every day and you're fine with that, that's great. However, if you're a person like me, they think that it's like a lot of work, then maybe you will do it twice a week. That's how I wash my hair. I only wash my hair twice a week. But I also think, and I wanted to mention this before I forget, because I've remembered it now, is that if you are a person that you cleanse your scalp every day, please be sure to use a gentle shampoo, because like I mentioned before, if you're using a shampoo that is very harsh, that has very harsh surfactants. So surfactants are not bad, but they're those chemicals that help cleanse to actually remove the oil of your scalp. So if you're using a shampoo that has too much of them, then and you're using it every single day, and that could actually be contributing to producing more oil and actually stripping your scalp of its natural oils and potentially even irritating it. However, if you do like to wash your scalp, your hair every day, I would opt for a gentle shampoo, perhaps one that even is sulfate free or surfactant free, because then you wouldn't be stripping your scalp. You would just be removing a little bit of the excess oil, but not overly stripping your scalp, if that makes sense. Also, very important, if you are a person that you choose to wash your hair every single day, make sure to properly condition the lengths of your hair. So important to note here is that when we cleanse our scalp, it's very important that we shampoo here. We shampoo in the scalp. We don't use the shampoo to wash this part of the hair. It will naturally cleanse itself by a consequence of the water. When you're rinsing it, it will just travel down and it will cleanse it. But it's not necessary to apply shampoo to the ends of our hair. That is what actually can be damaging to the hair strands itself, because surfactants in those cleansing agents, those are the ones who can actually dry out the lengths of our hair. And that is why it's so important to always apply a conditioner, because that is what's going to kind of protect our hair strands. The conditioner is what's going to remove the static, that's left behind from shampooing our hair, and it's going to condition and nourish the strands and prevent from further the ends being splitting and these kind of things. So now let's talk about what do I do to control the oil production in my scalp. So like I mentioned, given all these things, there's not like a strict answer for how many times you need to wash your scalp, because certainly the experts say one thing, but you should also listen to yourself and do what is more practical for you, unless you're just harming yourself and it's obvious that you actually need to be cleansing your scalp every day and you're not doing it. and then that's an issue. However, for me, what has worked for me very well in the past, I don't know, at least 5 years perhaps, I have been washing my hair 2 times a week. And this has been really helpful for me. I could not go more than that, because then I would definitely have problems. My scalp would be really itchy, and it would smell, and my hair would be completely flat and gross. So for me, I can only go about 3 to 4 days, without washing my hair. So that is what has worked well for me. Also, because in the past, what I noticed was that the more I washed my hair, the more oily it felt. So that was not going to solve the problem for me. It was not really going to control my oils, and it was only giving me more work in terms of having to go to the shower, washing my hair and all that. And probably I was using a shampoo that was not cleansing my scalp very well. So, it was a mixture of issues. And the other thing that I do to control my oily scalp is that I ensure to not only cleanse my scalp properly, but I also condition my strands. So I also spoke about that before, and this is extremely important, as I said, because the conditioner is going to counteract that negative charge that is left behind from shampoo in your hair, because the conditioner has a positive charge. So what's going to happen is that the negative charge that's left on your hair, and in combination with the conditioner that you add, which is the positive, they kind of like the opposites attract. So what's going to happen is it's going to form like a protective seal. I hope this I'm explaining it properly. It's going to form a protective seal on the strand. So that's why it's very important to use conditioner. And then of course it's going to reduce frizz, and it's also going to leave your hair more manageable and easier to comb, and not so tangly, and it's also going to leave it even shiny. But with this, another thing that I do is that I ensure to rinse my hair properly, because that's something that you may not be noticing, is that you're not rinsing your shampoo and your conditioner properly, and that can actually lead to oiliness in the scalp. So that's something that I ensure to do, is to properly remove and rinse all the products, all the shampoo and conditioner and hair masks from my hair, to ensure that my hair doesn't get even oily, or more oily than it should be. So the other thing that I have incorporated in the more recent years is that I use some sort of scalp exfoliant. I think these are excellent because they are going to help to remove the dead cells that are in our scalp, but also to remove buildup from product and from oil, and also just going to kind of like, it just feels really good. And I just wanted to show you briefly what do I have in terms of scalp scrubs or scalp exfoliants. Is I have two. I actually have a chemical exfoliant and I have a more mechanical exfoliant. So this one I haven't been using so often recently because I'm using something else. This is a glycolic acid exfoliating scalp scrub, and it's from the Inky list, and it says removes product buildup and leaves hair looking healthy. So the way you use this is you apply it on your scalp and you leave it for, I think it's about 10 minutes. Yeah, it says 10 minutes. And then you go on and you shampoo your hair like you would normally. And this is a chemical exfoliant. So the way this works is that it's going to the chemical exfoliant, the glycolic acid, what it's going to do is going to loosen up those bonds holding on to the dead cells, so they're going to kind of slough off naturally. And in addition to that, glycolic acid is an acid that can also help kind of like improve the scalp's natural moisture. And this, I mean, it's not going to make it too moisturized, but it's just going to improve the quality of your scalp if, for instance, you are suffering from dryness. So this could actually be a good option. But the Inky list also have another version of this, which is with salicylic acid, which can be even better better for people with oily scalp. And this is because salicylic acid not only is going to help to provide a exfoliation to the scalp, so remove or loosening up the dead cells, but also salicylic acid can help to kind of decongest a little bit of the follicles, hair follicles, so prevent them from being congested. And another thing about salicylic acid is that it can actually balance out oil production. So it's a really great thing to incorporate for preventing or controlling oily or greasy scalp, is to use exfoliant. And these are the chemical exfoliants that I mentioned, but I have been enjoying also to use more of a physical exfoliant that is a scalp scrub. And this one is from Sephora, one that I have and the one that I've been using so far. I just love the smell of it. And I will probably show you a clip of how I'm using it and the texture of it. So it has like these little grains, and I think it's salt. Yeah, so these are salt grains. And so you basically just massage it onto your head, and that's what it's going to help loosen up the dead cells and build up and so on. But in addition to that, it also has apple cider vinegar, which I don't know, I'm not sure about the science behind it, but it seems to be very trendy now to use apple cider vinegar in hair products, because I think the purpose is that it's going to help to kind of soothe the scalp. So if you have any itchiness and things like that, it might help with that. I have been enjoying it, so I really like it. So this is something that I incorporate to help me control also my oily scalp. So another important thing that I do to control my greasy scalp is to ensure that I'm properly cleansing my scalp. And by this I mean, because I'm gonna mention further on, I use a lot of dry shampoo, and that can build up, and also along with the oils, it can cake up in the scalp along with pollutants and so on. That's why it's really important to properly cleanse my scalp. And for that, I have been using this I haven't been using for so long, but I had definitely find that it works really well, is to use some sort of micellar shampoo or deep cleanse shampoo or detox shampoo. So any of these kind are probably gonna do this similar function. So I have this one. This is the one from greasiness, and it's called the micellar shampoo. So it's deep cleansing, removes buildup. That's what it says. And these kind of shampoos, very important to note that you don't want to use them very often. You want to use them maximum once a week, and that's how I use it. I use it once a week to provide my scalp with a deeper cleanse, to properly remove all the excess oil, the buildup, and the dry shampoo, pollutants, you name it, that dead cells and particles floating in the air. So this is what I use to do a proper cleanse. In addition to that, how I ensure to properly cleanse my scalp is that I ensure to do the double cleanse. This is what you do when, I don't know if you've noticed, when you go to the hair salon and they wash your hair, they always do like they shampoo your scalp twice. And when you go to the salon, you just realize that your hair stays cleaner for longer, and that's precisely because of that, because they do a double cleanse. So I have described this in my hair wash routine, which I will link somewhere here, and I'll briefly tell you how I do. So once a week I will use this as my first shampoo, and then I go on to use my normal shampoo. So there I am doing already the double cleanse. And the other day of the week that I'm not using this one, I use the scrub, because I don't want to use too many products either, because then I don't think that would be very good for the health of my scalp. So on the other day I do my first cleanse with this scalp scrub, because this scalp scrub is not just a scrub. A lot of the scalp scrubs that are in the market, they only work as a scrub or exfoliant, but not as a shampoo or cleanser. But this one does. This one is in fact, it's cleansing scalp scrub. So my first shampoo, I would use this, and then I go in I go in with my normal shampoo, and that's how I do the double cleanse. And this is how I ensure that my hair is properly cleansed, so it's not going to get oily so fast. And now that I'm in this subject about using micellar shampoos, I want to just quickly mention that this one is, although it is a micellar shampoo for deep cleansing the scalp, it is not one that has I think the word is has too much surfactants, because it's not a matter of you know, completely eliminating the surfactants. It's more about the quantity of the surfactants that can be you know, make it kind of like more abrasive or strong or aggressive for the scalp. But this one does have surfactants, but it has, I think, still like in a very low percentage, which makes it very gentle but still effective for cleansing the scalp. And another tip that I learned to understand how to find a shampoo to properly cleanse your scalp, especially if you have oily scalp, to bear in mind is to find formulas that are clear. But I'll show you as well. This is my current shampoo that is, you see it's see-through. So these transparent formulas, as opposed to those that are opaque, or you know, they have almost like a pearly texture, these have maybe less hydrating ingredients, or perhaps they have a little bit more surfactants that they're going to be helpful for, you know, removing the excess oil. So just something to bear in mind. So maybe if you've been using a shampoo that is opaque or pearly, and you know, you have oily scalp, perhaps try using one that is more transparent. And also, most of the shampoos, when you go out to buy them, they always say something, whether they are for oily scalp or to give volume. Usually the shampoos to give volume, they are, you know, very good for oily scalp. At least I find that they're good for me. This one is the one from Kerastase. It's from their Genesis range. It is one that is designed to kind of strengthen and fortify the hair strands. And so it's called Bine Hydra Fortifant Anti-Hair Fall Fortifying Shampoo. And this one doesn't say so much in the packaging, but when I was looking on the website, it did say that this one was for normal to oily scalp. So I suggest you look out for those kind of things. So the other thing that I do, and it's the most important thing that I do that helps me not have to wash my hair every other day, is basically I use dry shampoo. This is my favorite product that I've ever discovered. And I'll share with you this. I am originally born in Venezuela. And the city I used to live was super hot. This is a tropical country, okay? So it was super hot, about 30, 35 degrees on average every day. I needed to wash my hair at least every other day. And sometimes if I had an event, I would just wash my hair like, you know, the day after I already washed my hair to keep it clean. But then I discovered this, and this is just like the best thing for me, because I have long hair, and I had even longer hair before, and washing your hair every day can be it's too much work. Honestly, it's so time consuming, because for me it's a process that takes like about, you know, I don't know, 2 hours. You know, you have to shampoo your hair, make sure you rinse it, and then comb it, and then blow dry it, and then style it. I mean, it takes a really long time. So to do this like so often is very draining. So using dry shampoo it has just been like a lifesaver for me. It's just been amazing, because it's allowed me to not have to do this so often. And the other thing about it is that it kind of like, it helps absorb the oils, but it also kind of freshens up the hair, because as it gets dirtier and oily, it can have a bit of a smell. So I think this has been really great, and I often receive some compliments. There are some days where people tell me, you smell good, you smell like coconut, and it's often because I'm using this. So this is really, really good. However, I just want to point out a few things to bear in mind when using dry shampoo. It's very important that you don't think as dry shampoo as a cleanser, because it's not a cleanser. What it's going to do, it's going to absorb the oils and, you know, freshen the smell so it doesn't stink, basically. So if you think that you're going to use this for an entire week and not suffer the consequences, you know, you might have some issues. You might have some issues because this is also a little bit drying. So it's something to use with caution and not abuse it. I do abuse it sometimes, I have to admit. But yes, very important to have that in mind. But also I cannot stop mentioning is that because I use this kind of product, that's why it's also important for me to ensure that I am cleansing my scalp properly, because as I mentioned, this is not a cleanser. So if you are not using a product or shampoo that's properly removing the buildup of this, you might have issues with your scalp. So that's why it's very important to ensure that you, if you're using a product like this, to ensure that you all are also properly cleansing your scalp. So I'm just going to briefly show you. This is my favorite from Batiste. It's the cheapest one that's out in the market. I remember I didn't know this brand many years ago, and I actually started out using one from a French brand, which I will pop up the picture somewhere here because I can't remember the name of it. Chlorine. It's from this brand that's a very well-known French pharmaceutical brand. But that one was really expensive. It was really good, I remember, but it was really expensive. And once I found this one, I mean, I didn't want to go to that expensive one. So this one is amazing. I've used my favorites from Batiste are the original scent, but also this one, which is the tropical exotic coconut scent. And recently I've discovered this one from this brand, which we have here in England. I don't know if we have this brand in any other country. So if you have this in your country and you don't live in England, tell me. I am curious to know, because this is this brand. It's called Lee Stafford, and it has this range which is called Coco Loco. It smells so good. I really like it because although it's strong, it's still not as strong as some other products that have like too much perfume, and it kind of like makes me dizzy when I have too many products on my hair that are strong smelling. So this one is actually texturizing dry shampoo. So it says banishes oily roots and adds texture and lift. I have been enjoying this product. It's not the most expensive. It's actually maybe a little bit more expensive than this one. And what I like about it is that it's very lightweight. So maybe if you're somebody that doesn't have so much of an oily scalp, not having to wash your hair so quickly, I think this can be very helpful. And also it helps to add volume. So I like these kind of products very much. In terms of a quick comparison, this one absorbs more oils than this one. The bad thing about this one, the Batiste, is that it leaves a little bit of a cast. This one doesn't. However, if you're going to use this one, I just advise using it so read the behind part, because it will explain how to use it, and that's how you should use it. You need to shake it, and then you want to spray it onto your hair. I'll apply a little bit here just to show you. And you don't want to put it really close, because then you're going to have like a big white cast. But if you apply it just like that, so you can probably see a little bit of the white cast there. But you want to then massage it in. There you go. Yeah. So it does give a little bit of this opaqueness to the roots, so it doesn't show the oiliness. But there you go. Freshen up my hair. That's how you should use it. Another tip in using dry shampoo is, so your hair is still clean the first day that you've washed it, but let's say the next evening you use it in the evening, and that's going to like prevent it from getting oily, if that makes sense. So instead of using it when you are already oily, use it a little bit before or a day before that you start feeling the oils, and that is going to prevent it from getting oily. That's just a little tip. So another thing that I do, which I learned, is that the way you style your hair can actually help for your hair not get so greasy. So the way I style my hair is that I actually like to curl it and, then leave it like wavy. And that is helpful because, as I mentioned before, since it's a curl, it's going to act more of like an obstacle, preventing the oils traveling down faster. So So that is something to bear in mind. Maybe you are styling, you could incorporate once a week to style your hair with a curl. That could actually be helpful. Another thing that I do to prevent having oily scalp is I avoid using any of these styling products on my scalp, except for one. The only kind of styling products that I use on my root, or well, I've already mentioned the dry shampoo, is the thickening or some sort of thickening spray or something to give me volume. And that is because most of these products, not all, they don't have hydrating ingredients. They're basically ingredients that are like alcohol that are going to actually dry out your scalp, so bear that in mind. So to kind of like keep this part kind of with volume. So those are the only kind of products that I use close to my roots. Otherwise, anything like oils or hair conditioners, hair sprays for protecting from heat damage, and all these kind of products, I keep them only to the ends of my hair. I don't apply them to my scalp. Otherwise, my scalp will get oily. In fact, I think the last time I washed my hair, I must have applied too much product, like really close to my roots. And I think that's why I'm feeling that my hair is rather oily than you. So now I wanted to share with you a few tips that I learned that can actually be helpful to preventing your greasy scalp from going out of control. So one is to avoid touching your hair, and I'm so guilty of this. I mean, even throughout this video, this is like a tick. I think there's a lot of girls like me that we are just always we're always doing something, and it's because our hands are full of oils. We touch things, and we also sweat a lot in our hands, so we're just basically putting grease on our hair when we touch it. So, and I tend to touch this part a lot. So I'm always like fixing my part here. So this is probably where I get the most oily. It is where I get the most oily because I'm constantly touching it. So a tip would be to avoid touching your hair. And here I go, I can't help myself. So if you can, avoid touching your hair. So the second thing that I was going to mention, I think I already mentioned before, it was to find clear formula shampoos, because they don't have so many, they do have hydrating ingredients, but not as much as those that are opaque or that look like in a pearlescence formula. So those are probably going to be better for kind of like properly cleansing the oils from your scalp. So there you have it. That's all the tips that I have for controlling greasy scalp. So I hope that this is has some value to you. Let me know in the comments if you apply any of these tips, or if you have any other tips for me. That would be nice to know. If you do anything else that I haven't already mentioned, let me know. I would love to know that. And otherwise, I hope that they are useful to you, and hopefully this video was helpful in guiding you if you're struggling with an oily scalp like I am. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I appreciate so much that you're spending your time here with me, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Please don't forget to me. But before, please don't subscribe. But because some people, I think I need to repeat this whole segment. I'm not good at this speaking. It's called shampooing exfoliant.